Before anything begins, I agree. Yes, art is a way for one to express themselves, and the most successful, well received, and popular art should receive awards and recognition, which is why I, Ryan, as the opposition team, disagree with this House's decision and the government team's decision to oppose to these awards and recognitions. Before anything, I want to bring up the elephant in the room about how the Grammys and Oscars have executives that make it so the same artists win over and over again. But that is only a problem. That problem, whether that is true or false, is only a problem within the Grammys and the Oscars. Not all awards have people or have insiders or biased executives. You can't just blame all award shows because two or three award shows have biased executives. That's just not fair. Now, with that being said, what is an award? An award is a mark of recognition given in honor of an achievement. With that achievement, whether or not coming from or acknowledged by the judges of a certain award or by the general public. With the government team's argument being that saying that artists who didn't get awards feel like they're not good enough, and about how art should not have awards and should not be competitive because it is subjective, and thus, in order to get these awards, artists deprive themselves, lose their authenticity, identity, and just don't or just stop being themselves. Also comes up the argument of how the glorification of these awards makes it so artists crave the awards, and then that makes it they lose them. That makes it so that they lose their identity. Now, that statement is baseless and it's just untrue because most artists do not care about these awards. They just want to make songs or make movies that, well, fit to their taste, and coincidentally, they get an award because they're good at it. The purpose of these awards is to award or recognize the best or the ones that are acknowledged, which most of these awards are categorized or themes, which means an indie song would not be compared to a rock song. So, an indie artist would not have to lose their identity trying to make a rock song, and etc. In other words, these artists can be themselves, make the music, movie, creative industry that suits them, all the while pursuing an award. The competition for these awards is within one category. Again, means a rock song wouldn't be compared to an indie song. An action movie would never be compared to a thriller, which is why you never see the Transformers being compared to a movie called La La Land. The competition is within one category. An example of this are categories like Best Picture, Best New Artist, Best Director, Best Animation, Best Sound, Best Voice Acting, even, and etc. Also, the government team brought up the subject of biased executives and how most of the winners of the Oscars are white, thus making the judges biased and essentially racist. But this statement's reasoning isn't true. The reason why the Oscars are predominantly white and not filled with people of color is because the Oscars are predominantly filled with white actors. When you think of a famous American or Western actor, you don't necessarily think about people of color. You think of, well, these actors that are predominantly white. As a comparison, if you look at, let's say, Indonesia Movie Awards, then the actors in there are, well, predominantly Indonesian. Why? Because most of the actors are Indonesian. So it doesn't make sense to say that the judges are biased because of race or certain ethnicity. While on the topic of biased executives, if the judges are actually biased, then why was it in the Oscars or 2020 Oscars, the movie Parasite, directed by Korean director Bong Joon-ho, won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and Best International Feature Film, while being a Korean. That's what I just said basically negates all of the government team's statement saying that the judges are biased, and proves that these judges don't judge people or creative artworks or creative works aren't judged by who made them, but are judged by how or what the artworks actually are. If your movie is outstanding and is better than the others, then yours would be the chosen one. While that being said, these judges are biased, which means if, let's say, you won an Oscars, doesn't mean that you will win a movie award in a different award show. Now, another statement in which the government team said it is that we shouldn't judge something we do not understand, saying that as if the judges or the people that give these awards should not have the right to judge something they do not understand. That statement is quite rude and disrespectful to the judges that have spent years and years on the field, saying as if they don't understand, but they do, which is why they're chosen to be the judges. They're chosen because they understand how the music flows, how the sound, how the audio goes, how the camera works, how screenplay works, how the brush strokes, and how to direct it properly, and how in the creative industry they could differentiate the ones that should gain acknowledgement and the ones that do not. And one of the things that were being repeated was that art is subjective. Thing is, these awards, as I said beforehand, are also subjective, which means let's take the movie Parasite. If the movie Parasite won the Oscars, does that mean that in every other movie awards, that means that Parasite wins? No. The Parasite does not win every movie award, because each movie awards or each and every award show, like the Oscars, the Indonesian movie actors awards, and the anime awards even, they all have their own categories. Which is why you won't see a movie like Parasite get best voice acting. Why? Because there's no voice acting. It's not an animated movie, which is why they will never get best in voice acting. In conclusion, the government team's statements are baseless and have been unproven. Awards and recognitions should not be opposed because they help the people in the creative industry grow while being themselves. Because many awards have different themes and categories, which means that each award have their own identity, their own merit and categories. That is all from me. Thank you for listening.